Yo, what's up? It's your boy Mr. AC, and what I got is that's my routine, y'all. That's my routine. I can't help it. It's ingrained in my brain. But anyways, we're gonna talk about adding and subtracting in this video. How do we add and subtract rational expressions, right? Well, let's go ahead and hop into our first example here, adding and subtracting. And again, I should probably be better and write, hey, simplify the following expressions into an equivalent form, something that tells you to produce it into an equivalent form. Because if I say add or subtract, you could just add them and not simplify, right? So I gotta be a little better on how I'm wording my questions, but let's go ahead and check this out. So we got 3x minus 6 plus 3x plus 6 divided by 24x, both of them. Now, when we are adding fractions, okay, as a refresher, 2 divided by 4, sorry, I want a darker color. 4 divided by 2 plus 3 over 2. Take it back. Let's do a quick example. 4 divided by 2 plus 6 over 2. Okay. Let me show you what you would think to maybe do. Right? Well, first of all, how would we do this like if just normally? Well, 4 divided by 2 is 2, plus 6 divided by 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5. So we know if I need to simplify this, well, how would I do it? Well, let me show you the wrong way. Kind of the one that I see a lot of people do. They add the numerators, not bad. So we get 4 plus 6 is 10, 2 plus 2 is 4. Well, 10 divided by 4, I don't know how to do math, but I think that's 2.5. I could be wrong. Yeah, that looks about right. I could do something simple, but you can see right here, we get 2.5. We should get 5. So the big mistake is we're not supposed to add the denominators, okay? Adding the denominators will completely mess up our problem. Instead, you just add the numerator. So 4 plus 6 is 10 divided by, well, the denominators are the same. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5. So you can see right here, the proper way to add or subtract these expressions is to make sure you get common denominators, and then the common denominator is going to ultimately stay the same. All right, just keep that in mind. So how do we do this? Well, I'm gonna do this the long way first. We got common denominators, so I'm gonna write 24x. This is gonna be 3x minus 6 plus. Some people like to put parentheses around the second expression. Okay, it's up to you. I will tell you that when you are adding, you don't have to. The reason why is this is a plus. You're just gonna add things across. So when it's a plus symbol, there's no need to put parentheses. I know some of you do that to just help you out, but just letting you know you don't have to when it is a plus symbol. We'll talk a little bit of how that changes. And then all we gotta do is combine like terms. So for example, down below, here we go. We get 24x, 3x plus 3x. That is 6x. Okay, we are adding. We're not multiplying anymore. If we were multiplying, 3 times 3 is 9. X times x is x squared. Okay, that would be if we were multiplying, but because we're adding, we just combine like terms. Negative 6 plus 6, that's 0. You can put plus 0, but I won't. And we get this expression here. The x's ultimately cancel. And we get 6 over 24, and then we can write down x cannot equal 0. The reason why is we cancel these x's out, right? 24 times what will give you 0? Well, the answer is 0. That's why this corresponds with this. Now, why does that make sense? Well, if I plug in 0, 24 times 0 is 0, and we cannot divide by 0. Right? We're not allowed to divide by 0. So that just lets you know I cannot do that, just so you guys know. So there it is, guys. That is our first expression. Okay, here is our second one. I already set it up for you. I'm gonna let you go ahead solve this one out. Only thing you need to do is put the bottom now into factored form. So before you try to cancel anything out, I would go ahead and make sure it's in factor form. So x minus 4, x minus 1. Again, I kind of went about how to factor in my previous video, or I'll put it in the link down below. So check that out, guys, and we're going to go into subtract. So what happens when you are subtracting? Well, when you are subtracting, my dear friends, this subtraction, to me, can be really tricky. Because when you subtract, you're taking away the entire numerator on this side of the fraction. So it's very natural to see, oh, we're going to take away a negative 3. That should become positive 3x. But this negative is being applied to both of them. And the best way to show that to you is to draw it like I showed you right here. Notice how I put it in one line. We have common denominators. We keep the common denominator on the bottom. We keep the first one up here, subtracted by, and then now look here what this looks like. Essentially what you could do is you are subtracting a negative 3x. So what does it become? It'll become a positive 3x. We are taking away a negative 1. It's going to become a positive 1. Now, if that concept seems a little weird, essentially you can put an invisible 1 here. This is like essentially negative 2x plus 1 plus negative 1 times these two right here. So the big thing for you to know is that when you are dealing with subtracting, I put a set of parentheses just so that you know the subtraction symbol technically is going to distribute. So essentially what you're going to get is subtracting, we're taking away a negative 3x, that's going to become a positive 3x. We're taking away a negative 1, that's going to become a positive 1. And then the bottom is going to become x plus 2. X minus 2. We already factored this one in previous videos, so if you need to see how we did that, you can go back. Also, I put in the link below my factoring video in case you want to just look at that yourself. So what we're going to have now essentially is, well, let me just do these ones over here first. 1 plus 1. That's 2. That goes right here. And now negative 2x plus 3x, that's going to be a positive x. So we essentially have, right, let me just write over here, negative 2x plus 3x. If you want to, remember addition, you can do them however you want. We could write this as 3x minus 2x, and that's why you basically get just an x, right? There's an invisible 1 in the front. So there it is. On the bottom, we have x plus 2, x minus 2, and then you can see very nicely the reason why we do this is these two terms are going to cancel, which is super nice. Now, a lot of times people do this, just a common mistake to learn by, is they just write x, they just write, I'll put it over here in this corner. They just write x minus 2. And I'll tell you why that's wrong. The x minus 2 is on the denominator, right? There's nothing left on the numerator. So that's my dog barking. There's nothing left on the numerator, so we have to put an invisible 1 on the top to notify, hey, there's nothing left on the top except an invisible 1, right? The invisible 1 right here. And then we have this x minus 2 that goes on the denominator right here. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. That is how we subtract these functions right here, and what you need to be aware about when you're distributing this across. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'm out. Take care.